Hi, my name is Teresa Levitch. Thank you for taking the time to view this video. And thank you, Gryt, for including me in the program today. My topic is how to cope with limitations. And that's something that I've had to do since my treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma and breast cancer. It has not always been easy and continues this day to be a struggle. But I've developed ways of looking at it and ways of coping that I hopefully will be helpful to you. I had to give up teaching after my treatment, and I wasn't always the parent that I wanted to be or thought I should be. My kids had more chores than I would have liked them to do, but I just couldn't do it. And I decided that I couldn't be the only one. And the media had portrayed these people who climbed mountains and ran races, and that just wasn't my reality. And I felt badly about that. And it was depressing, and it was anxiety producing. And I was pushing myself constantly, just trying to get through it and you know, pick yourself up by the bootstrap kind of concept and move on. And it was difficult. It was very difficult for me. And when I began my advocacy, I was sitting in Dr. Stubblefield's office and talking to other patients, and they felt the same way. And I found it kind of, surprising. And I found myself feeling less isolated, and I found myself feeling less alone, and decided that I would dedicate myself to cancer survivorship advocacy for new patients or patients who have been out of treatment for a while, and letting them know that they aren't alone, and that they are normal in that sense with limitations. And so then I began to think, well, what is normal? And I realized globally, I've lived with limitations my entire life. I was a child, and I was told what to wear, and whatever was put on for dinner, that's what I ate. And when I was a teenager, I couldn't drive at night. And when I was a young mother, I couldn't take a vacation for 2 weeks. And really, through all of my stages of life, I've lived with limitations, and I just learned to cope around them. And I still lived a happy, productive life despite those limitations. So what I did is said, how can I apply that to the limitations that I have after my cancer treatment? And I realized that the difference for me was all of those other limitations throughout your life are very expected, and everybody else is going through them. When you're 13, you can't drive. That's the rule. So it was different. Cancer is not normal, and it wasn't expected. And the limitations that we have or experience are different to each of us, depending on the type of cancer and the type of treatment. So I acknowledged that I have the limitations rather than pushing through them. I acknowledged that I wasn't happy about it, but there was nothing that I could do. So I began to try to find means of coping, and one of the ways that I do it is, I could give you a list of different techniques and that, but so could a physical therapist or an occupational therapist. Mine was more of a mindset. And I still struggle with it. What happens is that when I have to go for a biopsy, or it's a day of fatigue, that grocery shopping is really all I can do. It just takes the wind out of my sails. If it's depressing, if it's bothersome, I acknowledge that, and I throw myself what I call a pity party, and woe is me, and why me, and I don't like it, and I don't want it, and I don't interact well, and I don't, I cry perhaps and worry, and it's a pity party, and that's what I'm going to do. I feel sorry, very sorry for myself. And then I begin to think, there were people who sat with me in my chemo chair, next to me in my chemo chair, and she was a lovely woman, and she didn't survive. And we got the same treatment, but I survived and she didn't. And so I begin to think, well, if somebody had come into that room that day and with all of us sitting in the chair said, look, you're, I'm going to give you 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but you're going to have some physical limitations. You're not going to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. You're going to have to work around these types of things. I don't think there would be one person in that room who wouldn't say, yes, sign me up. I'll take that. So really I'm fortunate that I survived. And yes, I have limitations, but I am here to enjoy the sun on my face. I'm to enjoy a good piece of artwork or listen to some music. I can still find joy in things. So I say to myself, okay, so you've been given extra time. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to stay here in your pity party and waste it and feeling sorry for yourself? Or are you going to accept those limitations, accept that it's not normal, it's not what you want, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy what you have. So, for example, I used to host, I come from a large family, I'm the oldest of 8, and we used to have huge parties of, just dinner and family. And I found that cleaning the house, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning up, I couldn't do it. As much as I loved it and I wanted to do it, it just was too difficult for me. It would take days for me to recuperate, and I couldn't do it well. So what I decided to do is the holidays came around, and I said, I knew I couldn't do it. So, all right, I called the younger generation, my younger sisters, I called my children and said, why don't you come on over and I'll teach you how to make sweet potatoes. I'll teach you how to, called another one, I'll teach you how to make lasagna. And they would come over a day or two ahead of time, and I would show them how I cooked, and they would help. And it was nice one-on-one time. I didn't feel that fatigue. And I got to spend some quality time with them. It wasn't that at dinner I was just so exhausted I couldn't even interact. So that's kind of an example of something that I would do to mitigate that limitation and that fatigue. And then, if I got no takers, what we did is I would take out the family members to dinner, or have just them over for dinner, one kind of couple, one brother at a time, one sister at a time. And I found I almost liked that much better. It wasn't as confusing, and I didn't have to make a 3-course meal. So again, just in terms of adapting and trying to figure out how can I still enjoy my family, but without the fatigue and the pain. And that was just one of the coping mechanisms. It's difficult for me to vacuum. So I bought a Roomba. It doesn't do as good a job, but it gets the house company clean. So I began to look for workarounds. Some of them work and some of them don't. And I kind of equate it with when, I don't know if you've experienced this, but when looking for new jobs or looking for colleges, you research what the college is all about, and then you go visit the college and you say, oh, it doesn't work for me, or I don't like the coursework, or campus is too far away. And you go and you look at the next college. And again, for me, it was kind of like, you pick a thing and you stick with it. That's how society sees it. And if you don't stick with it, you're giving up. And I had difficulty with that. So it's kind of like colleges or searching for colleges. I tried writing and I had a little bit of success for that. And I tried artwork, didn't have any success with that, couldn't do it. So I didn't, it wasn't so much that I was giving up as exploring. And I couldn't vacuum, so I explored what kind of vacuums were out there that I didn't need to work as hard with. So I began to search for things that would help. And if it didn't work out, I gave it up and moved on to the next thing, without that feeling of failure. You didn't follow through, and that's part of my limitation. Is that I need to explore new ways of doing things, and that has helped me with my emotional esteem. I think that now I'm willing to try things, and if it doesn't work out, I move on. So I guess my closing thoughts are: accept those limitations, just like you've had limitations throughout your life, and experiment with new ways to cope and to get around those limitations. And don't let those limitations keep you from enjoying beautiful art, nature, love, kindness, because you're still capable of doing those things. And I thank you for watching, and hopefully I was able to impart a little bit of help in your life. And thank you. Bye.
Hi, everybody. This is Nick Galrakis with Elephants in Tea and the Stephen G. AYA Cancer Research Fund. Hope you all are having a wonderful day on this Saturday. Just wanted to say thank you to Gryt Health for putting on another awesome event. They're doing such a wonderful job during COVID-19, and this mental health awareness event, I think, is going to be one that people are going to be able to reflect back on, not just today, but in future days as well. So before I introduce myself and Whitney, we just kind of want to go over what we're doing today. So let's jump into the agenda here. So first up, we'll introduce ourselves. Next, we'll talk a little about what is Elephants in Tea, why Elephants in Tea was started, and it kind of goes hand in hand with this whole writing idea, writing workshop, and the importance behind it. And speaking of the importance of writing, that's where Whitney will then jump back in and talk about why writing is so important. And not just writing as well, but creative expression too. Artwork, things of that nature that people might not see on a regular basis, but just different ways to express yourself. And then we'll also do a quick writing exercise. All you need is a piece of pen and a paper, or honestly, even your phone, that you can just type something in notes. It'd be nothing elaborate, just writing a few things down. So you might want to grab something for that quick exercise. And then we'll talk about next steps as far as what else you can do outside of here, what we can do for you after the fact as well. So just kind of bring everything full circle to kind of close things out for our session here. So let's jump in. So I'll go first. I'm Nick Galrakis, co-founder and president of Elephants in Tea. I'm also the executive director of the Stephen G. AYA Cancer Research Fund that oversees Elephants in Tea and the operations behind that. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Elephants in Tea has been around since 2018. Prior to that, I was in digital marketing and content marketing media, hence why the idea of starting a media company that is Elephants in Tea and a magazine with my background there. So I will now pass it over to Whitney. Whitney, welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself, everybody that's listening in to us today.
Hi, thanks, Nick. So my name is Whitney Hadley. I am the AYA support specialist and community outreach coordinator at Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital in Cleveland. So what that means is I work with AYA patients who are either treated at the pediatric hospital or our adult cancer center, Seidman Cancer Center. And I offer a lot of resources and connect patients with each other. We have a group that meets once a month. Right now, we're doing a lot of virtual programming. So I've kind of been running that as well. My background is in social work and medical ethics, and I am a 23-year pediatric cancer survivor.
Great, thanks, Whitney. Couldn't come off of mute fast enough. And also, too, I should mention that I am a sibling of a 3-time survivor and 1-time patient, so we'll get into all of that fun stuff, too. So Whitney and I we've been around for better or for worse as far as the adolescent young adult cancer community. So Elephants in Tea, let's talk about Elephants in Tea for a second. So we are a magazine/media company for the adolescent young adult cancer community. Patients, survivors, and caregivers, everything is written by that community as well. All of our content is 100% contributed and first-person stories. And the name Elephants in Tea, let's start even there before we get too further down the track. When we launched Elephants in Tea, we actually had a contest for the name, and this is what was brought to us. But first, we kind of laughed at Elephants in Tea, but the tagline says it all. Cancer is the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about, and tea is the relief that the conversation provides. And what we mean by tea in the conversation is writing back and forth with each other, sharing the stories with people that are going through it together. When we decided to launch Elephants in Tea, the importance of sharing those experiences first person was what was crucial from everyone we spoke with and who we talked to. Nobody wanted a quote unquote cancer muggle to translate exactly what was or wasn't being said and nothing to be sugarcoated. So that was why we came up with this name, and that's why we came up with the structure that is Elephants in Tea. So again, when launching Elephants in Tea, as I mentioned, myself, I'm on the right, my mother Angie's in the middle, and Steve's on the left. And let's start with Steve real quick. When I actually created this slide last year, I used it for other different presentations, but I thought it was relevant here. Steve was a 2-time cancer survivor at the time, and we built the structure on Elephants in Tea for the survivor, for those that are always dealing with some sort of side effects or cancer, because Steve was cancer-free for 10 years due to a bone marrow transplant. He had graft versus host disease. So we saw all the sorts of different things. Here we are at Stupid Cancer's Cancer Con last year, actually, and really got to meet a lot of awesome people. We wanted to structure this as around something that as a narrative that can continue on and not just be used from one day to the next, but overall from year after year. The conversations are very relevant. In the middle here is Angie, AKA Mom, my co-founder at Elephants in Tea. And since Steve was diagnosed when he was 15 years old, which is 14 years ago, my mom quit her job and became a full-time advocate against cancer, both in pediatrics and young adults, hence where AYA fits her so well. And with her, and then enter myself, as I mentioned, in content marketing, digital media, the two of us thought of the idea of creating this new narrative behind Elephants in Tea and the importance of self-expression, whether it's through writing or whether it's through creative artwork and things of that nature, or building some sort of structure, right? Just some way to use your hands to be able to talk back and forth. So again, we have a quarterly magazine. We also have a website where people can post and they send emails to me directly, or info@elephantsandtea.com, which we'll share more at the end. But people are sharing not just in the United States, but around the world. We are now in 10 different countries with over 100 contributors in less than 2 years, not even a year and a half yet. And we're in 52 hospitals. Everything is free. So if you ever want to subscribe to it, shoot me an email afterwards or check out our website at elephantsandtea.com. But it's become such an important and integral part of survivorship, of just knowing what's out there and what other people are going through to help each other and know that we're all part of one herd. And that's what we like to say at Elephants in Tea and those that follow us, as we say, join the herd, or we are the herd, because this is the family that we never wanted, but we're sure glad that we all have each other. I'm sure you all have heard that before. So that's a little bit about elephants and tea. We are now part this year of the Stephen G. AYA Cancer Research Fund that's been around for a long time. I won't go too far down that hole yet because I know we got some more stuff to get to, and that's what Angie had started 15 years ago. So let's get into some writing stuff, and I'm going to pass it over to Whitney now and talk a little bit more about why writing is so important, why creative expression is so important. Whitney, go ahead.
Thanks, Nick. So why is writing important? Writing is a really good way to be able to talk about and process really anything. As humans, the way we communicate and the way we make sense of the world is through stories. So there's stories that explain, what your day was like. There's stories about who you are. There's stories about what you go through. So writing is a really good starting point for how to process some of the things that you go through in your life. And one specific area, obviously, is your experience with cancer as a survivor, as a family member, as a friend of someone who's been touched by cancer. Writing the things down is a good way without judgment, and a good starting point if you're not ready to talk about it to other people yet. The other thing that we have on here is and creative expression too. Some people don't like to write, and some people don't like to express things through words. But artwork and music, all of those things are wonderful ways to start to kind of get something on paper so that it's not always going around and around in your head, and it can help you make sense of the things that you've been through. So writing is a really wonderful way to do that. And it can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be a structured, short story of the different things that happen to you on a certain day. It can be poetry. It can be bullet point lists. It can be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to make sense. That's what's so wonderful about writing, is that you can just do what works for you. So writing stories and having an outlet like Elephants and Tea has been really helpful for a lot of people and a really powerful way to show other people that you're there for them or that you've been through something, or to learn that you're not alone. To be able to read what somebody else has written is a really good way to know that other people have been through similar things, and it gives a lot of people reassurance and courage to get through whatever they're trying to get through on a given day. So we have a really great writing exercise to kind of start you out, because I think one of the big things, especially for myself, when I think about writing, I always feel like it's like I'm back in school and I have a homework assignment, and how the heck do I even start? So Nick's going to start with the first part of our writing assignment that I think will be really helpful for a lot of us.
Thanks, Whitney. So, and again, gang, this is going to be pretty simple. So grab your pen and paper if you heard us in the beginning, or again, just type it up on your phone, or even just take a mental note, right? This isn't something too elaborate. So it's going to be 3 steps. So first step here, we're asking you to write down 3 life goals you had pre-cancer. So where were you before cancer? A lot of those that are listening on this call, if you were diagnosed as an adolescent, young adult, you were anywhere between most likely 15, 20 years old, or even in your 30s. And everybody's going to be at a different pace, right? I know Whitney will, being diagnosed around the age 10, obviously her life goals were much different versus someone that's a 20-year-old. But I think that it's important to just kind of reflect real quick and write down your 3 life goals. And while you're doing that, I'll use myself as an example. This is relevant for caregivers. This is relevant for siblings. This is relevant for anyone that has a family member or a loved one that has been dealing with cancer, because we're all affected in different ways. I'll never sit there and say that what I'm going through is the same thing that Whitney had gone through, the same thing that my brother Steve had gone through, or even my mother. As a new parent myself, it's a whole different ballgame when it's your kid. But my life, I was 20 years old, 21, when Steve was diagnosed with his first cancer. And, for me personally, things changed. I was projected, I wanted to be I was boxing at the time, and I was doing sportscasting at the time. Talk about a whole life change from starting a cancer magazine. So things really put in perspective, right, from that standpoint there. So hopefully you all got your 3 life goals, and now we'll kind of take it into the next step here. So step 2, write down now how you view those goals during cancer. So did you completely forget about them? Did you just put them on the back burner? How did you just kind of feel about that? Whitney, I wouldn't mind hearing from you a little bit. I know obviously your situation was much younger than most people that are probably listening right now, but for you personally, or just people that you've worked with, how have you seen these changed?
Well, I think you can see it a lot of times if you're talking to someone who was in school, for example. For some people, especially a lot of the patients I work with, they have just started their first semester of college, or they're just about to finish college. And people take things very differently. So for some people, that is one other thing that they juggle while in treatment, that they decide they are going to continue going to school, either in person or virtually, and maybe their course load changes. For some people, they pause what they were doing and focus 100% on their cancer treatment. But while they're doing that, I've had several conversations with patients who changed what they wanted to do. They were going to school for management, and then all of a sudden this happens, and they have all of this time and all of these new experiences where they change what they want to do, and they decide, when I do go back to school, I'm going to change my major entirely, or maybe that means starting over with classes. So I think that's a really good example, is that while you're going through cancer, a lot of things do get put on the back burner. But it also is an opportunity to find new things, or to solidify things that you already were planning to do. Maybe your 3 life goals that you had pre-cancer are even more important to you now during your cancer treatment. And so, thinking about how you viewed them or how you view them now while going through cancer, and maybe what they look like now, even if they're the same goals. What does that really look like? Does it mean you are doing classes a little bit differently? Does it mean that you're working part-time? Does it mean that you're not working, but you're still staying engaged in whatever that field was? So those are important ways to kind of look at how they've shifted, if they have, and if not, that's okay too.
Awesome. Let's go to step 3 now. So step 3, write down what your life goals are today, regardless of your cancer status today. So whether you're still in treatments, whether you're a survivor, whether you're metastatic, whatever the case may be, I think it's now important to today. Where are you at, right? What are your life goals? What are the 3 things, if it is 3 things, what are the 3 things that you're looking to do? Is it trying to finish a degree? Is it just making sure that you can support your family going forward? Again, everybody's in a different pace. I know that for my brother Steve right now, one of his biggest goals is to finish college, and it's been a while, but he's getting close and close, and he should get there. Whitney, again, throwing this back at you, for you personally, how are your life goals right now compared to how they were before, right?
Yeah, so I think we kind of talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
I was diagnosed at the age 10. And so obviously whatever my life goals were at 9 years old are very different from what they would be today. But I am where I am today in the role that I'm in, and have the background that I have because of my experience as a cancer patient and as a survivor. I didn't even think about myself as a survivor until I was 20 years out.
Right.
So in the last 3 years, a lot of these things have really solidified for me. And working with people and helping them create their stories and share their stories in whatever way that is, has been really important to me, and is kind of my main focus right now. But I also wanted to kind of talk about what you were saying, Nick, about what are your life goals today, that regardless of where you are, maybe your life goals today are literally 3 goals for today. We're all kind of and we keep going back to the fact that we're all going through this global pandemic right now too. And maybe you need to zero in. Maybe looking at 3 life goals seems huge, but maybe those life goals are, what are your goals for today? Maybe it's getting out and getting some sunshine on your face. Maybe it's something super small, what would look like it was super small, but for you, that's a big deal. Maybe it's calling a loved one. Maybe it's starting to write a little bit. But it can be, what are your goals for today? And that's okay. And that's actually really important too. So you can break this down in any way. But I think one of the big takeaways that I would hope that people are going to get from this writing experience exercise is that you don't have to sit down and write about the time that you went to the clinic and had to get your blood drawn for the first time. It doesn't have to be writing about what those experiences were to start. Maybe that is what you want to write about, but sometimes that can be a block too. So it can be as simple as writing down lists of things and then comparing them.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Whitney, of just from the standpoint of cancer shouldn't define you, right? And it's just important to reflect on what you're going through. And that's kind of what our next step here, the two little comments we're going to add in here is, I kind of just said them backwards, but that's okay. Remember, cancer doesn't define you. And reflection is important to look at what you've gone through. And to Whitney's point, it doesn't have to be a goal 5 years from now, 10 years from now, because for some of you, it might be very difficult to look 5, 10 years from now. It might be difficult to look next month from now. So, if it's smaller goals, that's fine too. And I think that's the whole process of this little exercise here that we wanted to bring to light to people is writing doesn't have to be this monumentous occasion. It doesn't have to be the cover of a magazine to find self-expression, to just write down what you're going through today. There's a lot of different journaling ideas. There's different groups that actually do some awesome journaling ideas. Lacuna Loft, I just launched a program too that's really cool. You should check them out if you haven't. But it's just important just to write and reflect on what you're going through and just make sure that there are things in your life still today, even though it might be difficult to see, that is not defined by cancer. And that's a good thing, and reflect on those different things. So with that said, we're going to kind of wrap things up. I know that was just a really quick exercise, but just to kind of give you the idea of looking at things, reflecting on things, how important that really is. And again, we're all in different scenarios, so don't feel like you have to write something for elephants and tea, for example, right? Just write for yourself as a next step. And even as Whitney was saying, it's okay just to write about whatever your day is today. Or whatever the case may be. And again, if you do want to write for Elephants and Tea, please feel free to reach out to me, just nick@elephantsandtea.com, or just to have a conversation about today or any other day for that matter. Same with Whitney, her door is open too. Both of our emails are listed here. So by all means, please reach out to us with any questions. And with that said, Whitney, any parting thoughts for the audience today?
No, I think it's just important to remember that writing is a really great way to be able to express some of what you're going through. And as Nick said, it can just be writing down a couple of things each day that are notable for you, whether it's experiences you're having or you're processing things that you've gone through. And that can be used as a jumping board for talking to other people about what you're going through or writing something more. And as Nick also said, if you have any questions or you need help or you want more guidance in some more prompts or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Nick. And we'd love to help you with your writing process.
Yeah, thank you, Whitney. Well said. And my last comment too, I meant to say it earlier. Most people that write for us with Elephants and Tea, they do come to us with a specific topic in mind. And when they actually sit down and write and do reflect, the whole story changes and the direction changes. So again, just start writing and you'll be surprised at the direction it goes because you are finally reflecting on things you might not have reflected on before. So, all right, gang, well, that's all the time we have today. So again, Whitney Hadley, thank you so much for joining me today. Again, I'm Nick Galarakis, and as we said before, reach out to us with any questions that you might have. Enjoy the rest of this summit and the rest of your weekend. Take care.
Hello, hi, thank you for having me on. My name is Nicole. I am a registered dietitian and I specialize with oncology. So you could say I'm an oncology dietitian. I have worked in the field for 10 years, pretty much the entire time I've been a dietitian, so that's been really fortunate for me. I currently have a virtual practice. You can find me on Instagram. Please go find me, follow me, message me. I would love to interact with you there. My handle is Oncology Nutrition RD. Again, you can search for me. My name is Nicole. You can also find me on Facebook, which is Nicole Giller, RDN. So a little bit different name, but it's same person. So I hope to see you there. I hope to interact with you there and that you can interact with other people as well. So today I want to talk about sharing with you tips on, when you're not feeling so great as far as mental health goes, what can nutrition do, or how can you make sure to incorporate nutrition when it's going to be difficult? So the few things I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about what you can do with nutrition for these few topics. We're going to talk about chemo brain. We're going to talk about routines for bed to make sure, really just talking about sleep. So chemo brain, sleep, when you're not feeling really emotionally well and you don't even really want to eat, what are the things you can do to continue to be nourished? And then finally, okay, maybe you're able to get to the table, maybe you're able to eat some food, but we want to make that experience more enjoyable for you in a realistic manner. If your emotional status is not that good, we cannot put so much emphasis and pressure on you, right? But it's really important to make sure to get nutrition and to nourish yourself. So let's kind of dive into all of that right now. I'm going to talk about foods first for optimal brain function. So as a cancer patient or even a cancer caregiver, I'm sure you're very familiar with chemo brain. Things kind of seem to, feel off, to say the least. And I want to just really point out these foods that will help to really support your brain. One thing I want to point out very specifically is that carbohydrates, so that would fall under sugar, right? And I know you've all heard the myth that sugar feeds cancer because we cannot slow the growth or encourage the growth of cancer by what you're eating. You just cannot. Cancer is going to do what it has to do. It's going to pull all the nutrition from all your stores. We cannot manipulate that. It's very important to know that you cannot eat in a way to change the cancer that you already have. We want to make sure you're eating really well to nourish your healthy cells, because that is what's going to help support you to get through your cancer treatment, which ultimately will kill your cancer. So that's really important to note. If you feel, if you're hearing diet myths about avoid this food or sugar feeds cancer or don't eat carbs, things like that, that is false. That is a myth. That is not true. And kind of on the same point right now about the brain function is that the brain prefers carbohydrates as a fuel source. So it's going to be actually more important to fuel your brain, to fuel your brain with carbs and sugar. And that does include like chocolate and candy. You can still have sugar to fuel your cells. Now keep in mind, sugary foods are not going to have as much nutrition as you say different carbohydrates like whole grains or fruits, or like another carbohydrate is all of dairy except for cheese. So those are going to have more nutrition, sure. But that doesn't, we're not going to devalue chocolate. Sure, there's not as much nutrition, but it does have a place in your diet, and it's something that you can still have with cancer or after cancer. Okay, so foods for optimal brain function. Let me just list these out, and you can just take a note of it. So we have avocado, berries, nuts, flax seeds. So that could be crushed or whole. So it's going to act, flax seeds are cool because they're going to help, they're anti-inflammatory with their omega-3s, but then also help to keep your bowels more consistent with fiber. So I do get the question so often, is soy or flaxseed safe for breast cancer patients? And the answer is absolutely yes. So good news is that not only are they safe, but they actually contain antioxidants, both soy, even soy. That's kind of a little side piece for breast cancer. Both soy and flax are going to be good choices. And they will have antioxidants, so they will actually help to repair any type of damaged cells that you are experiencing during cancer treatment or after. So those foods are not off limits. But specifically for brain function, to support your brain and its daily function, flax seeds, eggs, green tea, leafy greens, any type of leafy greens that you like. I know that there was Maybe not so much now, but there was the kale kick for so long, right? And we're not going to discriminate on the other leafy greens. You can have any of them. And also, if you don't like kale, you do not have to eat kale. I do not like kale. I think I ate it one time and I was like, never again. So just any dark leafy greens will help to support your brain. And then finally, fatty fish, like salmon. So again, with the omega-3s like the flaxseed. So that's a really cool, important list to help support brain function. And when we're not feeling so well, we're feeling kind of lost from, either our emotional state, which is completely normal during or after cancer treatment, just really a part of life. We have feelings and emotions that come up all the time, but also the side effect of the chemo brain that is very real for cancer patients. Those foods will help to really support your brain function. Okay, so now I want to move on and talk about I want to talk about when you're not really feeling like you even want to eat. So maybe it's during cancer treatment or after cancer treatment, based on your emotional status, the day you're having, your mental health, all of those things. There may just be some days that you just don't feel like eating. So we want to make sure to optimize your treatment outcomes. And the way that we do that, the number one way we do that, we don't just show up for cancer treatment. We don't want to be running on fumes. We want to nourish your healthy cells. Cancer cells, they're going to get taken out by the treatment. But healthy cells, they're going to be there and they really want nutrition. But maybe you are feeling overwhelmed or stressed or depressed or anxious or worried, all of these very normal feelings, and you don't feel like eating. What are you going to do? Because we want to make sure you keep eating throughout treatment. So a couple of things you can do is, if you have caretakers at home, have them set like a schedule for you and an alarm or a timer. So they can either do the schedule for you, or you can set your own alarm, and just making sure you're eating throughout the day. Technically, in 24 hours, it doesn't really matter when you get your calorie needs. Your body will use it, but you're gonna feel less energized if you're waiting to eat later in the day or just once. So really, we want you to be eating throughout the day to nourish you, to give you fuel, to go to your treatments, to really just function, to have conversations. Food gives us so much energy. It fuels our healthy cells. So we really want to be eating throughout the day. That's going to be one tip. Also, eating with others can really help. It's almost a bit of a distraction. So in a good way, you always want to make sure you're eating meals with people that, support you and care about you. You don't necessarily need to be talking the whole time. Just being with someone can really help encourage you to be eating more food. Also, just make sure you're not too hard on yourself if you are not eating at all. I mean, I've had cancer patients tell me there's whole days that go by that they're not eating, and they're trying, and they know they need to fuel their healthy cells. It's a very stressful time. The side effects might be like, kicking their butt. So there may be days that you don't eat at all. I don't want you to feel like a failure, because you can still eat around those cancer treatments. You can still eat around those really tough days, and your body is going to appreciate that, and it will use that fuel. So the point of what I'm saying right now is that to celebrate the small wins. If you sit down with a meal with someone, you have this meal in front of you and you don't eat very much of it, don't take that as, okay, I didn't eat very much, I'm not doing as well. I want you to reframe that and be like, hey, I showed up on time for this meal. I came to breakfast and I had a few bites, even despite not feeling so well today. Celebrate that win, okay? Because I don't want you to feel like, okay, I'm not doing well, and then just have that feeling throughout the day. No, you are doing well. You're showing up. You're here. You're watching this video. You're doing great. So we want to celebrate that more and more, because that's what you deserve. And as long as you're showing up, which you are, you're gonna do better than if you weren't. So when you do show up those meals, you don't eat very much, it's okay. Just continue on, set the alarm for the next meal. Other tips, if you're not really feeling like eating, and this can be based on side effects, emotional state, or both. Other things you can do is make sure to either change it up, change the scenery. You can see my kitchen table right there. Actually, I have a patio. So sometimes it's nicer when the weather is right to change it up, to not eat at our dinner table, but to go out on the patio, enjoy the scenery or the weather or the sunshine, things like that. So changing up the scenery may encourage you to eat a little bit more. Also, setting the table, like setting it out. Like, think about it like if you're eating off like a dirty plate, or even like, even eating out of the takeout bin sometimes just might not do it for you. Like if you took the food out, put it on a plate, and your caretaker can do this, or you can do it yourself. You can, put on some music and try to set the plate out with the fork and the knife and your drink and all that, and try to just make it appealing to the eye, because it makes a difference. We eat more when it looks good. Okay? Even the way it's prepared, like an apple cut in half versus, I actually was just talking to somebody about this. So you have your plate of food and you have like your hard-boiled egg, not even opened up yet, or like half cracked. And then you have like a half cut apple and then like the jarred peanut butter there. No, it's just like a half made meal, right? And so what you want to do to change that up, and go check out my page because you'll see actually this exact post. Slice the apple up, have your caretaker slice the apple up if you're not feeling up to it. Set the peanut butter on its own little dish on the side. Completely peel the egg, cut it in half. It just makes so much of a difference to our eyes. We want to taste it more, and it will really taste actually better when it's presented to you in that beautiful way. So those are all things that you can do. Light a candle, like I said, we could do music, who you're eating with, change up the scenery, maybe even go for a drive. Right now, I believe, unfortunately with COVID, but you can get takeout. So if that's something that you're open to doing, and then going somewhere, if you can go to your favorite part of town, or if there's like a viewpoint or the river or something, that may encourage you to eat better. And if not, at least you'll eat some, and you'll be able to go on a little trip, and you'll be able to get out and be with your friends. So those are all these, and even by yourself. Sometimes people recharge alone, and there is nothing wrong with that. I'm like that. So you can always go get your own favorite meal of takeout and have some time to yourself to help you eat better. Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about is how sleep is actually really going to help with your hunger and satiety hormones. So what is hunger and satiety? So basically, when your body's smart, our bodies are smart, and they tell us when we're actually hungry, when we're full. And there's certain hormones released, and they are recharged when we're sleeping. So it's very important that we get enough sleep. Try to get at least 7 hours of sleep a night. And so what I want to encourage with that is, what I talk a lot with my clients about is, setting that tone around that hour before bedtime. Dimming the lights, like creating the mood for sleep. Turning off the screens earlier than you can. A lot of people like to do screens all the way up to in their bed or just in their bed. And you really want to try to not do that. Leave your bed for sleeping. When you're getting ready for bed, do not have your screens, turn down the lights, get into a routine. Choose a time each night, because that will help to support, it will train your body to, okay, now it's bedtime, we're gonna go do that. And then you can get your 7+ hours of sleep, and that's gonna help you the next day with not only your mood, but also those hunger and satiety hormones that are gonna then help you make sure you get the right signals to make sure that you're eating during and after cancer treatment. And also, one other thing to really help to support your mental health and actually even support sleeping too is exercise. Exercise is so important. The old saying was, you don't need exercise during cancer treatment, it's just all about rest. Well, that is not true anymore. So what the studies show is that actually you will have better outcomes, you will preserve muscle mass, you will be stronger, you will have more energy if you're actually exercising throughout cancer treatment. If you, the recommendation, if you haven't exercised before, you want to start off slow, but let's say before cancer treatment, you were already exercising, doing such and such routine, you can go ahead and continue that. The only thing is you don't want to push through any pain points. If you are having pain, you want to make sure to tell your doctor and work with your with PT on that, your physical therapist. But besides that, exercise is safe during cancer treatment. It will help you with sleep. It will help you with mood. It will preserve your muscle mass, because remember, during cancer treatment, if you are experiencing weight loss, it's not just fat tissue. We don't even want, the recommendation for all of my clients, all of my cancer patients, is to actually not lose weight during cancer treatment. If you are losing weight during cancer treatment, it's not fat tissue. It's not like a weight loss post-cancer treatment. No, you're losing muscle mass, that lean body mass that is so crucial to helping you improve your outcomes. So in summary, exercise. You want to exercise to improve your mood, mental health, balance hormones, preserve muscle mass, and help you sleep. So So many good tips there. Thank you so much for being on and sharing with me your time. I really enjoyed talking to you today. Again, my name is Nicole. You can find me on Instagram, oncology.nutrition.rd, or go ahead and find me on Facebook. It's Nicole Giller, RDN, because I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. And I specialize in oncology. I love it. Let me know if you have any questions. Shoot me a DM or a PM at either of those. And last thing, you can email me. I actually usually check my emails every day. So within 24 hours, you should hear from me, and you can email me at oncologynutritionstrong@gmail.com, no periods or spaces. So again, thank you so much, and I hope this helped, and you guys rock it.
Hello, my name is Colin Farrow. I hope you all have had a great time at your Gryt conference today. You've learned a lot. You've been able to take a lot of resources to empower yourself going forward. We're in an interesting time right now between maybe it's cancer diagnosis, but also this pandemic. And what are we to do with it? How do we continue to survive beyond it? I work for an organization called Epic Experience, and we're about empowering adult cancer survivors and thrivers to live beyond cancer. We do that through our Pinnacle program, which is our outdoor adventure camps that are a week long, winter and summer, all free. All here in the beautiful state of Colorado, where I am now with those beautiful mountains. And I'm here with you to take you on a walk. So right now is a time where we know you've been listening to some great speakers, some great content to hopefully teach you a thing or two about how to empower yourself through your own cancer journey. But right now we're about getting up and moving. And that's what we're about at Epic Experience. So get up out of your chair, come join me off your couch, maybe you're in bed, and we're gonna go for a walk. And encourage you to put on some headphones. But it's really just to get out, and we wanna make sure we're moving our bodies. Makes us feel the crisp air, feel a little bit better about where we're at. But this is also a point to reflect on the day. And so I encourage each of you to walk with me. I'm here in my neighborhood. I am minding my social distancing. I am, quarantined at home with my wife and son. And so right now, I'm just gonna go for a walk around the neighborhood and talk with you all and tell you a little bit about myself, my journey, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about what's next after this day of, this Gryt Global Health Conference, to be able to talk about what do we do from here. So I apologize for the camera work. I am walking, so I'm using my cell phone to record this, to be able to talk with all of you. But again, this is the point to put on some headphones, get outside. So a little bit about me. At Epic Experience, I've been working with them since 2014. I started working with Epic Experience, one, because my mom started the organization, so I had an in on the interview process, I cannot lie. But really, it was my brother's cancer diagnosis back in 2007. And it was his diagnosis that really brought me into this cancer community. I'm a caregiver, I am not a survivor myself, but I've been able to see a perspective through his eyes, and now all the cancer survivors that I've been honored to serve through Epic Experience. And so my perspective has changed to where it was prior to 2007 and Michael's diagnosis. Much like probably many of you once cancer came into your life or your family's lives. And so at Epic Experience, it's one of those things that I wanted to go work for the organization because I wanted to be able to interact with, really at the end of the day, what it comes down to, people that didn't care about the drama of life. And I don't know if any of you relate to this, but what I mean by that is we understand that, a cancer diagnosis can bring fear, anxiety, and struggles. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. Of course it does. But what I am saying is when Michael was diagnosed with cancer, sorry, I was like, should I share his name? Should I not? He's fine with it. When Michael was diagnosed with cancer, it was one of those that we realized people in our everyday life, they had a hard time dealing with his diagnosis. talking about it. Not everyone. But we realized right then and there that those of our friends that we had before, some weren't able to deal with it, and it's not their fault. We've come to terms with that. I've come to terms with that. It's just they don't understand. But there was some drama behind that and some things that people say, and the more we got involved with the cancer community, we realized cancer survivors and those that want to be a part of the community, there's no BS. There's no unnecessary drama. It's real relationships. And that's what life's about, isn't it? It's about our real relationships. It's about connecting with one another. It's about having conversations at 1 a.m. in the morning. It's about being able to pick up the phone and share whatever on your heart or on your mind with somebody that gets it, but also gives you the genuine time to listen and communicate versus just the, head tilt that I know a lot of you know what I'm talking about. So I fell in love with just the genuine nature of those that we started to encounter through Michael's journey. And so that's how I became involved with Epic Experience. I love the realness of it. And since then, I've been working alongside my mom, Nancy, to provide all these programs. And these programs start off with our week-long adventure camps. We do adventure camps that are both in the winter and summer, all here in Colorado. And the winter camps have cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, sledding. Summer camps, we're going to be doing such a thing as whitewater rafting, inflatable kayaking, hiking, and horseback riding. And it's all about getting there to live beyond cancer physically, but also mentally and emotionally. And so we're trying to just empower folks to have fun, but also have a community that they can connect with and understand. And so that is what so much of what, Epic Experience does, I value, because at the end of the day, that's what life's about. It's about making memories. It's about collecting memories in your pocket, as I like to say. Another one of our volunteers likes to say the term, look up and look out. And if I look up and look out, I see a beautiful park here in my neighborhood, and those beautiful Colorado Rocky Mountains, in which I am blessed to see and experience. And so, what is it for you that you can do as you're out on this walk to look up and look out? If you weren't here in Colorado, you don't have the Rocky Mountains, can you listen to the birds chirping? I know I hear them here. Is it saying hi to somebody walking by that you don't know their day, but you make them smile? And it brings joy to you, because we all want that connection, especially right now, because I think so many of us are missing it. So a way that Epic Experience is trying to connect during this pandemic is much like Gryt is providing for all of us right now. And that is, those virtual connections. So if you're looking for some programs to keep yourself moving, like this walk, we have a walk in which cancer survivors tell their stories. And that's on Wednesdays via Facebook Live. We have a yoga class. We have done dance classes in the past. We're doing a LIT program, which is much like HIT. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, HIT is high impact interval training. LIT, low interval training. So we're doing that in partnership on Tuesdays and Thursdays. All of these programs, please note, are offered right now during this pandemic. We're hoping to keep some of them going after this, but we cannot promise all of that as we all get back to our day-to-day lives. Those that are working with us right now, their schedules will go back to normal. But right now we're trying to offer those, keep all of us moving during this trying time. So that's a little bit about me, about Epic Experience. But why I'm out here with you right now is, again, to get you moving. So I do hope you're out walking with me. But I would like to talk a little bit about what's next. A lot of what Epic Experience does we say, is meant to be a launching point to help support you going forward in your cancer journey. I know that's a lot of what Gryt is doing today. You've had all these great speakers, you've had all this, fantastic content to reflect on and say, all right, you've been given the tools, but what's next? So I challenge each of you as you go forward from this conference today to reflect on that. What has it been today that has empowered you to live beyond cancer? We all have our moments in which we struggle. We have our moments in which it's hard for us to get out of bed. But I have a few things I want to share with you today that I hope can empower you going forward. Not only physically, like something as simple as getting out and walking, or some of these programs we shared with you before, but mentally as well. And so one of the things I think that is so important to myself and my perspective, especially during this pandemic, and I've shared this with my family, a couple of our survivors and thrivers that have come to camp that I've talked to that have had a hard time, and that is the mentality of trying to turn the thought of I should into I can and I will. And sometimes that's just as easy to be able to go ahead and you think to yourself, I should go take the dog for a walk. I should do the dishes. I should work out. I should call this friend that I haven't spoken to in 2 months. Sorry, got interrupted and scared by a screaming, crying kid in the neighborhood. Distracted me, won't lie. But how do we turn those trains of thoughts into I can and I will? And so one thing that I've done is just the mentality is whenever I have those trains of thoughts come into my mind, the I shoulds, I just strictly tell myself as soon as it pops in, I go, I can and I will. And the I can and I will looks different for all of us. But to be able to do what you can is what this life is all about. And so, as you've heard all these things today, through the entire conference, I hope you've been given some tools to where you can turn those I shoulds into I can and I will. Maybe you've had someone that has that aha moment to where you can relate, to say, I understand, I get it. One of the biggest things I think I hear a lot of is, how do I go ahead and act like everything's okay when I'm having PTSD or something like that because I've been stuck inside my home? I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist. I'm just a person that's passionate about the community. And all I can tell you is reach out to a friend. Maybe it's somebody you know, maybe it's somebody you don't know. But reach out to a friend, find a friendly face. Maybe it's someone you don't know. Find them on social media through a cancer support group. The I shoulds and I wills go to the physical stuff I mentioned before, but also the emotional. And we have to keep both those as sharp as we can. So reach out to whoever you can find and find that connection during this time. To have someone that relates to you to say, yes, me too, I get it. But also, when it comes to the physical side, I want you to remember one thing, and that is, a lot of times, what I do, I have to preach this a lot. We do adventure programs. People tell me all the time, I can't go that fast. Or, I can't, I'm not that good at this. Doesn't matter if you're good. Doesn't matter if it's something brand new and you've never done it before and you are struggling. What matters is take that struggle and collect those moments, because those moments are what make us better. Those moments when life gets hard is what is able to help us grow. There is less than 1% that is the best or great at things in life. Pick your lane. But what you can be is you. And I challenge each of you to be you, but enjoy the journey, because life is about the journey, the experiences, and the conversation. And so I hope that today you've had a great time of reflection, great time to be able to connect a little bit to some folks and things they've been sharing, to say, yes, I get it, I feel that. But really, just at the end of the day, we hope that you've been given tools to live beyond cancer. And remember that going forward, life is about connections, people, but turning those I shoulds into I can and I will. I hope you all have had a great day. I hope you're all staying safe. And thank you very much for letting me share my journey, my words with all of you. We will get through this together, and that if you need anything from support, do not hesitate to reach out to myself, anyone at Epic Experience, or just a friend. Thank you. Have a great day.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Listowskis, the Programs Coordinator for Gryt Health. I wanted to take the time and thank you all for being a part of today. It's a special day for us here at Gryt. It's the closing of Authenticity, Gryt Health's first ever virtual mental health summit. It's also the last session in our 5-part series. We started planning today quite a few months ago. The entire team at Gryt is either a cancer survivor or a caregiver. So unfortunately, we know all too much that times can get tough, even unexpectedly. We realized very quickly that our cancer community needed more than just a one-day mental health summit. Leading up to today, we had 4 live Saturday sessions filled with up-to-date information and resources surrounding COVID-19. All of these sessions were extremely informative. They were made possible by our newest partner, AAPM, the American Association for Precision Medicine. 2 of our advisory board members, Dr. Kamala Madali and Dr. Catherine Benedict, the many physicians, researchers, cancer survivors, COVID patients, and advocacy leaders. I'd also like to thank Swamini for all of her help in teaching us different breathing techniques and why our breathing matters so much. Additionally, our nonprofit partners that were a part of this series. These include the Live Strong Foundation, Living Beyond Breast Cancer, Elephants in Tea, the Crush It for Curtis Foundation, Stupid Cancer, Cancer Care, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. While the first 4 live Saturday sessions were informative and filled with medical and science updates, we still wanted to make today all about you. So that's exactly what we tried to do today. We wanted it to be about you and your mental health. We know that mental health can be a tough topic and an uphill battle during a cancer diagnosis and well after it. We hope that today we were able to at least provide you with the tools and information to help you feel empowered, to feel in control of your mental health, and most importantly, know that you are not alone. We hope that you know that the entire Gryt Health cancer community is by your side to help you move forward in your cancer journey and improve your mental health and well-being. We're so happy to have spent the day for you, but I really want to let you know that this is not the end. All of the information and content from the last 5 weeks will be available on the website for the next 30 days. We encourage you to share this information with anyone who might benefit from it. You can also join us on the Gryt Health platform, which is available for iOS, Android, and on your desktop. Over the next few months, I'll be planning different programs on the Gryt Health platform, which include different experts and partners that also participated in these last few weeks. You can also always come say hi at any time to us on the platform. And in the general discussion chat room, you'll probably find me in there either talking about food or pets, two of our most talked about topics in the general chat room. You can also come connect with us on Facebook or Instagram. For today, I'd like to thank our nonprofit partners that participated and continue to provide valuable resources to the cancer community, which include Elephants and Tea, Epic Experience, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, Immerman Angels, and Caring Bridge. I also have to thank everyone on the Gryt team for putting in the long hours and making this series so amazing. And of course, they're the most incredible group of people to work with. But most importantly, I want to thank all of you, our Gryt Health cancer community. You truly made our Authenticity Cancer and Your Mental Health Summit an extraordinary and meaningful experience. I can't wait to see everyone on the Gryt platform to keep this conversation going, or even just come say hi to us and check in to see how you're doing. Lastly, I want to remind you that we're all in this together and that it's okay to be vulnerable and to be authentically you. Thank you.